What's up, YouTube? Spiderian here, and I'm bringing you guys another commentary on yet another slightly touchy subject. So let's get on into it. The gameplay that you're seeing is Call of Duty Black Ops 3 on PS4. I play on the map Hunted, and then the gameplay then eventually switches over to Nuketown. I do pretty good in both matches. I am primarily using SMGs because there was a SMG calling card challenge that I was trying to complete. So that's the gameplay for you. But now let's get into the real part of the commentary. In the commentary, the stuff that I'm going to be talking about today in the commentary is double standards. Because I've heard it many a time called that our generation, the millennial generation, is called the generation of double standards. And to a certain extent, I do agree with it. So let's get on with it. We're going to start it off with the real definition of what a double standard is. So straight out of the dictionary, and by straight out of the dictionary means straight off Google, it says, double standard. A rule or principle that is unfairly applied in different ways to different people or groups. So that is the definition of a double standard. And I'm going to give a few examples of double standards to kind of make it easier to, in a way to understand what they are like. So the first example I'm going to start off with is what I call the fake selfie. And I'm sure you guys probably have already seen this before. You probably already know what I'm talking about here. But say a girl sees a really cute guy, say she's in a coffee shop or something, she's a really cute guy sitting not too far behind her, and she wants to snap a picture of him so she can talk about him to her girlfriends and, her family and all that. She wants to talk to them about it. So, she'll get up with like a drink or whatever and pretend to take a selfie, but angle the camera in a certain way to then snap a picture of the guy so then she can, bring him back and show him off to her girls, and they can talk about him. And that's all there is to it, no huss, no fuss, nothing about it. While on the other hand, say a guy is in a coffee shop or something, and he sees a really attractive girl that he wants to take a picture of to show off to his guy friends. If the guy was to do that, pretend to take a selfie, well, that's just considered incredibly weird. He's kind of considered a pervert for doing that. Now, I personally think pretending to take a picture of yourself just to snap a picture of somebody else is weird. I think I would never do it myself. I've never done it myself because, like I said, I just think that's kind of weird on both ends. But when a guy does it, he's labeled as a pervert. Like, if the girl was to find out that the guy did it, she would probably freak out. I mean, I don't know for sure because, like I said, I'm not a female, and I don't know any females that this has happened to. But I do know that it is a thing that happens, and it's kind of becoming a common occurrence, which is a little weird, but the girl would most likely freak out. She would most likely be like, whoa, what the fuck? What? You pervert? How dare you take a picture of me without me knowing? Well, if a girl was to do it, if a girl was to take a picture of a guy, the guy, he just kind of has to shut up, sit down, and be flattered that somebody finds him attractive. And while, yeah, that doesn't really sound like the worst thing in the world, someone finding you attractive, it is kind of weird if they're taking pictures of you without you knowing. On both ends. Like, the whole thing's weird, but in a sense, it's more socially acceptable for the girl to take a selfie of herself to get a picture of a guy. And if the guy does it, he's weird and a pervert, but if the girl does it, oh, that's just normal. So that's my first example of a double standard. Another example of the double standard is race relations of the 60s and beforehand. From like the 60s before, racism, basically. Racism is a huge double standard. It's probably the most extreme version of a double standard you're going to find. Because if you just know your basic American history, until about the 70s, black people were treated horribly. They were hardly treated as a person. The double standard was that white people, they get these special privileges and rights, while black people don't. Say a white guy speeding, cop pulls him over, the cop will be like, oh, you're a fellow white person like me, I'm just gonna, give you a warning and move on with the day, don't do it again. But if a black person, back in like the 60s, 50s or 60s, was to do that, get pulled over for speeding, they would most likely immediately get a ticket, and there could potentially be some legal action taken against them, even though speeding is not that bad of a crime. I'm not saying you guys should go speed, because it is dangerous for the pedestrians. Think of the children, but that was an example of a double standard. Racism is a extreme version of a double standard. Another example that I have here is physically abusive lovers. And what I mean by that is Say a girl gets pissed off at a husband or boyfriend. They say they made a mistake, they did something dumb, you know. And the woman, if she gets really pissed off, she can slap the guy, she can punch him, kick him, throw things at him. That's it, you know. That's just kind of the end of that. Say the guy, you know, if the guy tries to make a domestic abuse claim against her, most of the time the court's just gonna kind of be like, yeah, not really, sorry, buddy, we're not really feeling that. While if a guy was to get angry at his girl and throw things, push her, punch her, stuff like that, there would almost immediately be a domestic abuse case in favor of the girl, but not in favor of the guy. Like, say, you know, the girl was hitting the guy, the domestic abuse case would most likely not be in favor of him. Unless the woman, like, beats the guy to a bloody pulp, the guy most likely is not going to get a domestic abuse case against her and actually win it. But, you know, say the guy just punches his girl, shoves her down, throws something at her, boom, she files for a domestic abuse case, bam, snap of the finger, because I can't really snap too well, but snap of the finger, boom, she can get a domestic abuse case. Now, I'm not saying I support domestic abuse at all. I think domestic abuse on either end, whether it be the male doing it or the female doing it, I think it should be punished. I think action should be taken. I totally botched this kill. It is so embarrassing to watch. But legal action should be taken immediately, no matter which side is doing the abusing. But when you look at it, most of the time, people are just like, domestic abuse, they just kind of register, guy. The guy's the abusive one and the girl's not. The girl's the innocent one, the guy's always the evil one. When in probably a lot of cases that isn't true. But, you know, that's just yet another example of a double standard. Yeah, I mean, another one is breakups. This is something that I've noticed, that a majority of double standards typically tend to happen between male and female. So another one is breakups. If a girl breaks up with a guy, like, the guy could be a decent fellow too. He could be a really nice guy. And say something just doesn't work out between the two of them. If the girl breaks up with a guy, you know, breaks the guy's heart, it's like, okay, too bad, so sad for the guy. He just needs to shut up and get over it. And he's fine, you know. The girls, you know, they applaud the girl for breaking up with the guy. Even if the guy wasn't a bad dude, you know. She broke his heart. Yeah, it doesn't matter. So, now, if the guy was to break up with the girl, however, the guy's considered a monster. Like, the girl could be the worst person in existence. The girl could be a new version of Hitler, or for all I care. And yet, since the guy broke up with her, he's the evil one here. He's the bad guy. He's the meanie pants. So in a sense, it's the girl can break the guy's heart, and there really isn't anything about it. It's like societally smiled upon for the girl to be the one to do the breakup. While if the guy breaks up with the girl, it's kind of considered, oh, he's an asshole. He must be a terrible person. He's a dick. So girls can break a girl can break a guy's heart, no problem. But if a guy breaks a girl's heart, he's evil. So that's another double standard right there that I'm just kind of like, the what? It's just like, I don't understand why that's the way it is, but it just is. And the last example that I'm going to give of double standards before getting into my personal opinion of double standards and what I tell you guys you should be looking out for is virginity, the big V. Yeah. So, if a guy is a virgin, he's considered weak. He's considered less of a man. He's considered, you know, a wimp. He can't get any. He must be a loser, a nerd, a geek, a total flip-flop, flammity-boo, you know, flat-out loser. I said loser twice now, but so basically, if a guy doesn't lose his virginity, he's kind of considered, loses her virginity, she's considered a slut. So this is like a double standard that kind of goes both ways in a sense. So if a guy has his virginity, he's considered a loser, less of a man. But if a girl loses her virginity, she's considered a hoochie, a slut. And it's kind of like, huh? What? That's another example of a double standard. I mean, it's true. I mean, when you think about it, come on, when you were in high school, when you heard that this one girl, you know, had sex and lost her virginity, what was your first thought? You probably thought, oh, wow, what a slut. ugh, that hoochie. Good lord. Oh, what intonation. But then you hear all the guys talking about it, and they're like, hey, bro, did you lose your virginity yet? No, I'm waiting until marriage, you know, because that's what my religion says. Oh, bro, you must be a loser. Huh, high five. Yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone talks like that, but that's essentially how it is. Guy loses his virginity, it's all good. You know, he's finally a man. Girl loses her virginity, she's a slut. So that's another double standard right there. And, I mean, that's pretty much, there are thousands of examples of double standards that are out there. I mean, just go on Tumblr for crying out loud. There are so many things on Tumblr about women complaining about how, you know, if a man ever does this, he's the worst. But then the woman proceeds to immediately go out and do it herself. Double standards are essentially they're very hypocritical. You know, it's like, oh, I can do this, you can't do this, but then I just go out and immediately do it myself. So double standards are incredibly hypocritical. They're very unfair, and I hate double standards. I am not a fan of them. And I'm sure most people aren't a fan of double standards themselves, but the reason why no one ever really notices them is because no one ever talks about them. They're hard to notice. They don't stick out. It's only when you really take a deep look that you actually begin to really notice that there are double standards in the first place. So I think, like, if we as a society wants to start changing double standards, want to start doing away with double standards and whatnot, I feel like what has to happen is we kind of need to start recognizing them first before we can actually do anything about it. Because it's very difficult to fix a problem when you don't even know what the problem is. If you can't recognize the problem, it's almost impossible to know what it is. To, know what's going on. So I think that if we as the people want to start changing double standards, we need to start noticing them first. And those are only a few examples of double standards. There are thousands of them out there, and honestly, you're probably benefiting or hurting from many double standards yourself. Of people being like, oh yeah, I can do this, but you can't. You can do that, but I can't. Stuff like that. So that pretty much is the end of my commentary. My big takeaway is just start noticing double standards and start trying to do away with them. In a sense, this is kind of like a call for equality. Just like we all need to be equal so then we can do away with the dreaded double standard. I mean, not as dramatic as that, but anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the commentary. I hope you found it useful. I hope you found it interesting, entertaining, any of these fabulous adjectives. And I will see you guys in the next commentary of whatever I make, or of the next video of whatever I make. Because I got games to play, and I got touchy subjects to talk about, and hopefully not offend too many people. But, we'll see. Anyway, guys, like I said, I do hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!